In a world consumed by conflict, where the sharpness of tongues cuts deeper than swords, and power is wielded as a weapon, the Stoic path whispers a quiet defiance. Victory is found not in conquest, but in mastery of the self. There is no enemy so great that they cannot be defeated by the discipline of your mind and the strength of your character. Let us explore 13 ways to destroy your enemy without lifting a single weapon, methods rooted in ancient wisdom and unshakable inner resolve. 1. Turn your enemy into an ally. The ultimate victory lies not in crushing your enemy, but in transforming them. To do this requires a level of magnanimity and wisdom that only the truly disciplined can muster. Marcus Aurelius writes, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like your enemy, but to show them the better path." Hatred feeds on hatred, but what happens when you disarm your adversary with unexpected kindness? It confuses them, disarms their aggression, and often sows the seeds of mutual respect. A cold heart can thaw in the presence of warmth, and an enemy can become a companion if they are shown the futility of conflict. This is not weakness, it is strategy. By refusing to retaliate and instead showing generosity or understanding, you force your opponent to confront their own character. Imagine offering forgiveness to someone who wronged you, not out of naivety, but as an act of profound strength. They are left grappling with their actions, questioning their motives. Seneca said, "It is a great soul that can endure injury and yet choose to do good." By turning your enemy into an ally, you accomplish something far greater than victory. You create unity. You heal the division and remove the source of hostility, not through domination, but through transformation. This approach requires humility, empathy, and the ability to see beyond the immediate conflict. But in doing so, you rise to the highest level of Stoic virtue, not merely avoiding harm, but creating harmony where none existed before. In turning an enemy into an ally, you destroy the very idea of an enemy altogether. 2. Conquer your enemy by conquering yourself. The most profound way to destroy your enemy is to render them irrelevant by mastering your own emotions and desires. The true battle is not external but internal, for no one can harm you as deeply as your own uncontrolled mind. As Epictetus reminds us, no one is free who is not master of themselves. Your enemy's power lies not in their actions, but in your reaction. If they can provoke you to anger, fear, or despair, they win. But if you learn to rise above these impulses, to see them as fleeting and insignificant, then their influence crumbles. The Stoics teach us that the self is the only domain we truly control. When you conquer yourself, you strip your enemy of their ability to manipulate or harm you. Picture this: your adversary lays a trap, hoping to ensnare you in conflict, frustration, or distraction. Instead of falling for it, you remain grounded, serene, and focused on your purpose. They are left with nothing but the realization that they cannot touch the core of who you are. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The stronger your self-mastery, the weaker your enemy becomes. Their actions become hollow, their provocations meaningless. Your life becomes a fortress, built on the foundation of reason, virtue, and resilience, a fortress no enemy can breach. To conquer yourself is to achieve the ultimate freedom. In this freedom, your enemies are defeated, not because they were crushed, but because they were never truly a threat to begin with. The battlefield of the mind is where true victories are won, and when you emerge victorious there, no external force can ever claim dominion over you. 3. Defeat your enemy. Through indifference, to be provoked is to be controlled. The moment your anger rises, you have handed over your freedom to your opponent. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. What greater triumph is there than to meet your enemy's hostility with calm indifference? Indifference is not apathy. It is strength restrained, power wielded with precision. When you refuse to retaliate, to match their anger with your own, you render their weapons useless. Imagine standing in the eye of a storm while your enemy hurls insults, schemes, or aggression at you. They expect you to be swept away by the chaos, but instead you remain immovable, unshaken. Seneca tells us, "An angry man is always full of poison, but who harms himself less than he who swallows none?" In choosing not to engage, you frustrate your opponent's efforts to dominate you. Their need for control collapses under the weight of your serenity. Indifference is the shield that no blade can pierce. 4. Destroy your enemy by living with excellence. The greatest humiliation you can deliver to an adversary is to rise above their pettiness and succeed in spite of their opposition. Marcus Aurelius urges us, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. If they lie, you remain truthful. If they hate, you choose compassion. If they seek to pull you down, you rise higher still." Imagine this: your enemy seeks your downfall, driven by envy or resentment. But instead of succumbing to their schemes, you channel your energy toward living a virtuous and purposeful life. You become disciplined in your actions, patient in your struggles, and relentless in your pursuit of growth. With every step forward, you dismantle the illusions they built about your weakness. This path is not easy. It requires fortitude, the courage to face hardship without losing yourself. But remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus. The person who practices virtue does not merely escape harm, they turn harm into benefit. Every obstacle they place before you becomes fuel for your fire. Every insult they hurl becomes proof of your resilience. In living with excellence, you render their hatred irrelevant and their attempts to harm you futile. 5. Defeat your enemy by mastering your purpose. One of the most profound ways to destroy your enemy is to make them irrelevant by devoting yourself fully to your purpose. When your life is guided by a clear mission, your focus becomes impenetrable and the distractions of conflict lose their grip on you. As Marcus Aurelius advises, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your enemy seeks to divert you, to pull you into their web of schemes and hostility. But when your purpose burns brighter than their efforts, their attempts to harm or hinder you fade into insignificance. Picture yourself like an archer with your eyes fixed firmly on the target. No matter how the winds howl or how your adversaries try to shake you, your aim remains steady. Epictetus reminds us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. By committing yourself to your higher purpose, whether it be a pursuit of virtue, mastery, or service to others, you strip your enemy of their ability to derail you. Your life's work becomes a fortress they cannot breach, a beacon they cannot dim. When you master your purpose, you rise above petty quarrels and meaningless distractions. Your energy is no longer spent on fleeting conflicts, but is channeled into something greater. In this, you destroy your enemy not through confrontation, but by rendering them powerless against the force of your unwavering resolve. Your purpose becomes your armor, and with it, you stride forward, untouchable and victorious. 6. Disarm your enemy with understanding. To destroy your enemy without fighting, you must first seek to understand them, not to justify their actions, but to strip them of the power that misunderstanding grants them. As Marcus Aurelius reflects, whenever you are offended, remember you are complicit in taking offense. Understand what drives the other person, and you will see their actions more clearly. Often what we perceive as malice is rooted in fear, ignorance, or suffering. By taking the time to understand your adversary's motivations, you reveal the cracks in their armor, the insecurities, the unspoken pain, the illusions they cling to. This act of understanding does not absolve them of wrongdoing, but it shifts the balance of power. No longer are you reacting blindly, you are acting with insight. Imagine standing before your enemy, and instead of meeting their hatred with your own, you look beyond it. You see a flawed human being, caught in the same struggles and imperfections that afflict us all. Seneca reminds us, to understand all is to forgive all. This forgiveness is not weakness, it is liberation. In understanding them, you free yourself from the chains of resentment, rendering their hostility ineffective. When you disarm your enemy with understanding, you remove the fuel that drives the conflict. You take away their ability to surprise or unsettle you. You rise above the pettiness of opposition, operating from a place of wisdom and compassion. In this way, you do not just defeat your enemy, you transform the conflict itself into a lesson in humanity, leaving both of you stronger and the need for enmity extinguished. 7. Outlast your enemy through patience. Patience is a weapon sharper than any blade, a virtue that dismantles even the strongest adversary over time. The Stoics understood that time reveals all truths and erodes all pretenses. As Marcus Aurelius advises, time is like a river made up of events which happen and a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away and another comes in its place. By practicing patience, you allow time to work in your favor, weakening your enemy's efforts and strengthening your position. Consider this. Your enemy seeks immediate gratification in their schemes, quick victories, rapid results. But you, guided by Stoic wisdom, know that endurance outlasts aggression. You remain steadfast, letting their energy deplete while you conserve your own. Like a rock standing against the crashing waves, you endure without wavering, knowing that time eventually silences even the loudest storms. Seneca reminds us how much better to endure patiently what we cannot avoid and to cure what we can. Your patience is not passive, it is a deliberate, active form of strength. You refuse to be hurried by your enemy's timeline, refusing to act out of desperation or fear. Instead, you move with purpose, waiting for the right moment to act, or for no action at all to be necessary. In the end, patience destroys your enemy by outlasting them. Their anger fades, their plans unravel, their resolve crumbles, and you, unshaken, stand victorious not through force, but through the quiet, unrelenting power of time and endurance. The battle is won not in haste, but in the unyielding calm of one who knows that true strength lies in waiting. 8. Crush your enemy through self-sufficiency. The ultimate defeat of your enemy lies in needing nothing from them. When you cultivate self-sufficiency, you remove their ability to influence you, control you, or harm you. The Stoics teach us that true power comes not from possessions, status, or others' approval, but from inner independence. As Epictetus says, "He who is not a slave to his desires is beyond the reach of all masters." Enemies thrive when we depend on them, whether for validation, material gain, or emotional responses. But when you become self-reliant, their actions lose significance. They may withhold approval, spread lies, or try to deny you resources. Yet you remain unaffected because your happiness and peace do not depend on external forces. Imagine standing firm like a tree whose roots go deep into the earth. No storm can uproot you because your foundation is internal, unshakable. This is the power of self-sufficiency. Seneca reminds us, "The wise man is content with himself, but he is also a friend to all." When you no longer rely on others for your sense of worth, you become immune to manipulation and control. By meeting your own needs emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, you rob your enemy of their leverage. They can no longer bait you with promises or threats. You are untouchable because everything you need is already within you. In achieving self-sufficiency, you defeat your enemy without a single word, for you have removed their ability to affect your destiny. 9. Overwhelm your enemy with silence. Silence is a weapon few understand, yet it is one of the most devastating tools of the Stoic. When faced with insults, accusations, or provocations, responding with silence denies your enemy the very thing they seek your reaction. As the philosopher Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." Silence is not weakness, it is controlled strength. It is the refusal to dignify negativity with acknowledgement. It forces your opponent to confront the emptiness of their aggression, leaving them to wrestle with their own anger or confusion. Imagine an enemy shouting at you, expecting fury in return, only to be met with calm, resolute quiet. Their words echo uselessly into the void, leaving them disarmed and unsettled. Marcus Aurelius advises, "Do not waste words on trifling matters or on those who do not deserve your time. Let your deeds speak for themselves." By withholding your voice, you communicate a deeper power, an unyielding confidence that does not require explanation or defense. In silence, you stand above the fray, unbothered by their schemes and insults. You force your enemy to reveal more of themselves while preserving your energy for meaningful action. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their intentions while protecting your own integrity. This disciplined restraint, rooted in self-control, defeats your enemy without a fight. They are left shouting into the wind while you move forward, untouched and unconcerned. Silence in its depth and stillness is often the loudest answer. 10. Destroy your enemy by cultivating joy. Nothing frustrates your enemy more than seeing you thrive in joy and contentment, especially when they have worked to cause you misery. The Stoics teach us that happiness is not dependent on circumstances but is cultivated from within. Epictetus reminds us, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourself." By finding joy in the simple and the virtuous, you rise above the reach of those who wish to harm you. Your enemy may aim to sow seeds of anger, despair, or bitterness in your life. But when you cultivate gratitude for what you have and find fulfillment in the present moment, you deny them the satisfaction of seeing you suffer. Imagine smiling not out of spite, but out of genuine peace while your enemy struggles to comprehend their inability to disrupt your inner harmony. Seneca advises, "The happy life is one that is in harmony with its own nature." By aligning your life with reason, virtue, and appreciation, you create a state of contentment that no external force can shake. Your enemy's malice cannot touch the fortress of joy that you have built. Joy is not mere happiness. It is a deep and abiding sense of purpose, gratitude, and perspective. When you live with joy, your enemy's efforts lose their power, their hatred evaporates, and their schemes crumble into insignificance. To live well, to find meaning and fulfillment despite opposition, is to deliver the ultimate defeat. In choosing joy, you do not just destroy your enemy, you transcend them entirely. 11. Defeat your enemy by embracing your own mortality. One of the most powerful ways to destroy your enemy without fighting is to confront your own mortality with unflinching courage. When you accept that life is finite and that death is inevitable, you free yourself from the fear and attachments that others may use against you. As Seneca wisely observed, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Your enemy may attempt to intimidate you with threats, power, or promises of destruction. But when you embrace the truth of your mortality, their attempts lose all significance. You realize that their actions, their threats, and their fears are temporary and inconsequential in the grand scheme of life. Death is the ultimate equalizer. It strips away all illusions of power and control. When you live with this awareness, your enemy's schemes become mere distractions, unable to disturb your peace. Imagine standing before your adversary, knowing that neither their threats nor their victories will matter in the end. You have already faced your greatest fear, death, and have made peace with it. This acceptance grants you a freedom and courage they cannot comprehend, for they are still enslaved by their fears of loss and suffering. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Death smiles at us all, but all a man can do is smile back." When you embrace your mortality, you disarm your enemy by removing the leverage of fear and anxiety. You live fully, without hesitation, and with no fear of what might come. And in this, you defeat your enemy not by overpowering them, but by transcending the petty struggles of life, aware that the only true power lies in your response to the inevitable. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the Stoic verse for more wisdom to guide your journey. Thank you.